took a tree. All around, all around. All around, all around. I put my head under my pillow, but my mind just took a tree. All around, all around. I took my image off a mirror when my body was going too deep. In the ground, in the ground. In the ground, in the ground. So come on, we lost the space. So come on, let's burn it all. Just like a key, right in your face. So come on, let's fuck the world. I put my face on the picture, and you know that's gonna cause so much pain, so much pain. I take the lies from my truth now, and the cycle just goes on. From the vein to the brain. From the vein to the brain. So come on, we lost the space. So come on, let's burn it all. Just like a key, right in your face. So come on, let's fuck the world. So come on, we lost the space. So come on, let's burn it all. Satanic tracks from outer space. So come on, let's fuck the world. So come on, we lost the space. So come on, let's burn it all. Just like a key, right in your face. So come on, let's fuck the world. So come on, we lost the space. So come on, let's burn it all. Just like a key, right in your face. So come on, let's fuck the world. So come on. So come on.
Welcome to the Howl in the Hollow, where legends awake, nightmares breathe, and the shadows are never empty. Every week, we step into the unknown, exploring creatures that lurk just beyond the firelight, cursed objects that whisper from the dark, and stories you wish you never heard. Listen closely, because the Howl warns you, and the Hollow is listening. Since the dawn of civilization, humankind has feared the unseen, the shapes that move in darkness, the whispers that slither through silence, the feeling that something ancient watches us when we're alone. We gave those terrors a name: demons. In nearly every culture, demons emerge as reflections of our deepest fears, manifestations of chaos, temptation, and death itself. In ancient Mesopotamia, the people spoke of Pazuzu, the demon king of the wind, whose foul breath brought plague and famine. His image was carved into amulets to ward off other demons, a paradox of protection through fear. In Jewish mysticism, there was Lilith, Adam's first wife, who rebelled against submission and became a nocturnal predator, a succubus who strangled newborns and seduced men in their dreams. From Christian tradition, demons became fallen angels cast out of heaven during Lucifer's rebellion. These beings, stripped of light, were condemned to dwell in the abyss, feeding on the souls of the damned. Theologians describe them not as monsters with horns, but as intelligent, persuasive entities, patient corruptors who whisper doubt into human minds. Across centuries, there have been countless testimonies of demonic encounters. Some of them took the form of possession, an ancient horror that still crawls through modern life. Even today, priests still report strange phenomena, objects moving on their own, guttural voices emerging from the throats of the innocent, and the stench of sulfur lingering in the air long after these rituals end. Modern skeptics claim that these horrors are not infernal but internal, symptoms of mental illness, hysteria, or even trauma. Yet for every explanation, another question arises. Why do possessions follow the same script across cultures that never interacted? Why do people who have never read scripture describe the same shadowy entities, the same mocking voices, the same inhuman strength? Perhaps demons are not merely spirits, but archetypes, psychic parasites that latch onto our human fear and feed from it. Or perhaps the mind itself is the doorway they need. Every religion tells us the same truth in different tongues. Evil exists because it must. It gives shape to our morality and meaning to our choices. But if belief gives demons power, what happens when millions of us stop believing in the light? What if the darkness is not gone, only ignored, waiting for the silence to return? Because sometimes late at night, when you hear your name whispered in the dark, it isn't your imagination. It's something older. Something that remembers you. Something that never stopped watching. Tonight on the Howl the Hollow, we will be discussing some of these cases and diving in headfirst into perhaps the scariest subject on Earth.
That looked like a pretty scary subject to me, my friend. Jeff, is your volume working?
Okay, it is now.
I thought
Jesus.
so.
Anyway, welcome to the Howl the Hollow. I'm your host, Jeff Canarsie, and this is my partner, Chicago Muscle, and we're going to bring you some very scary shit this evening.
Yeah, about as scary as it gets.
Let's see. Let's go through the chat just really quickly. Hello, Jesse. Hello, Joy. Hello, Angel. Who else do we have in here? Heather. We have Heather, my buddy Sicilian Syndicate.
The girls are all coming out for the spooky stuff, man, and Mr. Tony Soplo in the house tonight.
Hello, Tony Soflo.
What's going on, brah?
Wow.
Tell you what, he knows a little bit about this subject too.
Absolutely. So, it's interesting because we talked briefly the other day about wanting to do this. What was your sort of reason for wanting to do this topic?
Well, because I have friends and, well, Brenda has had experience with it when she was growing up in a Pentecostal church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was there one day when a woman walked in and I guess threw herself on the floor, and it was, and we have had this talk like over the years because it really had a big effect on Brenda and it scared her real bad, and she still openly, finds it hard to talk about. And when I breach the subject, I always want to look at mental illness first because
I know a lot of people that show these type of symptoms. A lot of it leads to mental illness.
Right.
But over the years, if you believe in God and you believe in the Bible, then you must believe the devil exists. If you believe that the devil exists, then you believe what the Bible says about the devil. And I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think of demonic possession was the account of Jesus Christ casting demons into the swine and them jumping off into the sea. There is an actual biblical account of my religious belief saying it exists, along with a lot of the testimony of a lot of religious people, law enforcement. I believe at one point I seen it myself. Wow. And maybe at one point, I'll be open to discuss that. I don't talk about it much. But, and I told you why. Yeah. But I do believe in it, and I do believe it can happen. If you are spiritually dead and God turns his back on you, it can happen. I also believe that if someone is pure at heart, mm-hmm. and it would hurt God the most to affect them the worst, kind of like Job. Yeah. In that instance, it can happen to the best of us. Not just because we're bad and we done something to invite it in, like playing with Ouija boards, things of that nature. Bringing shit into your life that could possibly lead you down a dark path. But I believe that it also can connect itself to someone who's extremely good. And knowing the case that I do about Annalise, she was just someone who was a good person from every account. And there would be no reason for this to happen to somebody like her. But by all accounts, it's one of the most documented cases of exorcism out there.
Well, yeah, the reason, when I did the other kind of horror thing, I sort of showcase this a little bit, but tonight we're not going to go into like every case in the world, but we're going to talk about this one specifically. And I have some stuff that is very disturbing. So if you get scared really easily, this is probably not going to be the show for you. I'm just going to trigger warning as well. I saw it in the chat, the Pope's Exorcist. We have the first official Vatican film of an exorcism by the Pope's exorcist, Father Amroth. Is that his name? The Catholic Church does not allow for exorcism videos to be put out, and a lot of that's just the privacy of the client. But before we get into the sort of the story, I wanted to just kind of address a couple of things with this, just so that we understand going into this. Number one, the Catholic Church has to have authorization to ever do an exorcism, right? So a priest must have special and express permission from the local ordinary or the bishop to perform an exorcism. The qualifications for that are permission is only granted to priests who are endowed with piety, knowledge, prudence, and integrity of life. There's an assessment. Through an assessment is required to differentiate between a spiritual problem and the psychological or medical illness. Signs of possession include speaking in unknown languages, abnormal strength, aversion to holy objects, and knowledge of hidden events. Ritual. Solemn exorcisms are performed according to the Roman ritual, which includes prayers, the Litany of the Saints, Psalm 90, sign of the cross, and the use of sacred objects like holy water. Secrecy. Confidentiality is assured through this process. Monetary gain. They cannot accept any money. Exorcism rules. The exorcisms were performed through medical or psychological examination to rule out mental illness. And the reason why I brought that up is because in this specific case, the priests were charged with murder. Okay. And we'll go through that just a little bit. But I thought it was important to bring sort of that up, because I think in the past, and I'm Catholic, so I'll be the first to say it, I don't think that they always had that protocol in place. And I think that what you're going to realize after we show a couple of these films and some clips is this is just beyond mental illness. You know what I mean? I think that there's probably a gray area.
There are levels to this thing, and this goes to the highest level.
Absolutely.
And over the edge. It crosses the Rubicon, folks. And you'll understand what I mean, because I'll reiterate on that afterward. You find out the result of what goes on here.
All right. So basically, I'm just going to give a brief synopsis of this case. If you have seen the film, what is it? The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This is what that film was about. And in the 1970s, a young German woman named Anneliese Michel became the center of one of the most controversial cases of alleged demonic possession that we've probably ever seen. Obviously, she was raised a devout Catholic, and she began experiencing severe psychiatric and neurological symptoms as a teenager, including convulsions, depression, hallucinations, and episodes of self-harm. Doctors originally diagnosed her with epilepsy and psychosis, prescribing medication that did nothing for her, didn't even stabilize her condition. As her symptoms got worse, Anneliese began to believe that she was being tormented by evil forces. She reported seeing grotesque faces, hearing voices, telling her she was damned, and feeling an unseen presence controlling her body. Her parents, already distressed by years of medical treatments with little improvement, sought help from the church. After long deliberation, 2 priests were authorized to perform a series of exorcisms, a ritual seldom approved in the modern days. Over the course of 67 intense sessions, Anneliese deteriorated both physically and mentally. She screamed for hours, refused food, behaved violently, and claimed to be inhabited by multiple demons, including Lucifer, Cain, Judas, Nero, and Hitler. Imagine that. Audio recordings captured her voice shifting into eerie guttural tones that would later fuel worldwide fascination. By 1976, Anneliese died from malnutrition and dehydration, weighing barely 68 pounds. Her death led to a criminal investigation that shocked Germany. Her parents and the 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide and accused of allowing religious belief to override medical care. The trial became a worldwide spectacle. But here is the question that sort of I want to address, is I'm trying to figure out the best way of paraphrasing this. Is there are certain things I think we can all agree that mental illness will sort of showcase itself, like schizophrenics, paranoia, and whatever. However, I would love somebody to explain to me how she spoke Aramaic, which is like the language of Christ. It's like a 5,000-year-old language. I'm probably wrong on how old that language is, but how did this woman speak that language? And that's where I think, when you go into a court of law and you're arguing malnutrition and all of this kind of, legalese, how does a judge explain that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's one of those things that if the courtroom and that situation is a very, very, very touchy situation, because once you let that Pandora's box open, the devil made me do it theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and there's a really good story about that too, where the supposed devil made somebody do something. We'll have to talk about that sometime. But yeah, I get what you're saying about, how do you, explain that away, Your Honor? I get it, but the court of law is about what you can prove, not what you think you can. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
and these things are really hard to prove, bro. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that there's, for those that don't necessarily believe in this, I can see your argument point you might have.
From a devil's advocate side.
Yeah.
From a devil's
literally.
advocate side, literally, if you're a psychologist, you can say, oh, this girl was deeply disturbed. She thought she was the devil. She thought she was Hitler. She thought she was all kinds of people. Obviously multiple personalities, schizophrenic, had, and she basically died of malnutrition, which was the result of not getting her to a hospital, and she died anorexic, and maybe they didn't get her on a drip feed or something.
Yeah, she threw up nails, all kinds of stuff that is just not normal. And I do have a video of this. And I'm warning you now, this is very disturbing. And what you're going to hear in the very beginning is her normal voice before all of this happened. Then what you're going to hear as it goes on is something is coming out of her that it scares the shit out of me. So if you get scared easily, I'm warning you ahead of time. You ready? Here we go.
auch für die anderen Leute, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen und so. Aber dass das dann so schlimm ist und so grausam und so furchtbar, nee. Das denkt man leiden, das ist so leichte Sache, aber wenn es dann wirklich schlimm wird, da will man überhaupt nicht mehr, da will mein Kind schlimm.
Nein, Jäklitze! Han varm Jäklitze! Åh, så gärna vill han idag. Ich gärna idag.
Sind wir schon 3?
Wie. Was ist so der Schneide?
Als Kind Gottes.
Ich hab ein Moderschlag.
Namen des
Ruhe gibt's nur da oben.
Ruhe gibt's nur dort, wo die Liebe ist.
Ja, bei uns gibt's nur
Nur Hass.
Ja.
Und wo nur Hass ist, da gibt's keine Ruhe.
Nein, und für uns gibt's nie Ruhe. Nie.
Weil-
In der Ewigkeit. Und jetzt bin ich verdammt. Die müssen in eigenen Seminaren ausgebildet werden, die dürfen nicht auf die anderen Universitäten. Kapiert?
Klar. Ist da sonst noch etwas zu sagen?
Weil
Weil der Teufel größere Macht.
Im Namen deines Sohnes, den Jungfrau, im Namen Jesu, befehle ich dir auszufahren. Im Namen des dreifaltigen Gottes, des Vaters, im Namen des dreifaltigen Geistes, befehle ich dir auszufahren und nicht
Weißt du, Maria, du bist voller Gnade.
Well,
Yeah. Talk about the neighbors complaining about noise.
and there's that. You don't have to worry about no stray cats being around your neighborhood. She chased them all off.
Yeah, that is
Whoa!
that is insane. I tell you what, since we're playing a video really quick, I'll play this next video really quick just because it's sort of in the theme of what we're doing. Now, this video is a little different, but this woman probably weighs about 130 pounds, and grown men cannot hold her down. And this is Father Amroth, who is the Vatican's chief exorcist. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit. If I can just pull up the right one here. There we go.
Dicasmi il nome. Sei da solo? No! Quanti siete?
80 ragazzini!
Quanti? Quanti ce ne sono? Quanti ce ne sono con te? Quanti diavoli ci sono con te?
80 capi!
80 capi. Viene solo Mexico, stui. Quando esce?
Mai!
Quando esce?
Mai!
In nome di Gesù. Dicasmi. Dominus, figlia di tibi, die qua, eget, il Signore Gesù t'ha fissato il giorno d'andartene.
No!
Non te l'ha fissato ancora? Non te l'ha fissato?
No!
Sarà lui a fissarlo, perché tu non conti una cicca, come non conto una...
È la mia! È la mia! È la mia!
È di Cristo! È di Cristo! Signore, questa tua figliola, liberala da Satana e dagli altri demoni che la tormentano.
Siamo eserciti!
Te lo chiediamo
Eserciti!
per intercessione della Vergine Maria. Per intercessione della Vergine Maria. Per intercessione della Vergine Maria, che ti annulla Satana. Lo sai che lei ti annulla, che contro di lei non può fare niente. Contro di lei non puoi fare niente, puoi solo andarsi a nascondere. Esci in nome di Gesù, intercedente, Immacolata Vergine, dai gentrice Maria. Esci in nome di Gesù, intercedente, Immacolata Vergine, dai gentrice Maria. Esci nun, esci nun, esci nun, esci nun, intercedente, Immacolata Vergine Maria, esci nun, die metterà me stui, come il tuo segno, e tu guida il ministro lì se ti indigno, forse si nomi busoveria, neque an creatura andai, le circostante, ora e notte, quello modo anche soffenda, in nome del Padre, e Figlio, Spirito Santo, via. Ha bisogno di bere un bicchiere d'acqua?
Magari sì.
And there you have that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I do not want to be on the receiving end of that.
Well, the thing of it is, again, is it a legit case or isn't it a legit case? I always look at these things and say the same thing. Now, that priest that was in that video right there, I recognize him, and I also know that the credentials that you spoke of are legit. The guy's a legitimate Vatican exorcist. He's not, a fake or anything. I've seen him on other shows where they've interviewed him and specifically spoke to him about his work. And, the official, like you were kind of talking about, what has to take place before he can even go in and perform an exorcism. And it's interesting if you're interested in learning more about this subject after all the crap you're going to see tonight. But, it's one of those things. I mean, here's the thing, Jeff, and I've known a few people who believe they have dealt with this type of thing. Not in the capacity maybe of like what we just looked at there.
Right.
But being around things that just aren't right, things that are evil, you know what I mean? Things that are not... I think human beings have the ability, when there's something not right around them, they know it. And they know when it's real. And I'm not just talking about somebody who's fairly, scary in nature and, kind of jumpy or whatever. And that's okay if you are, that's, some people are just like that. But I'm talking about somebody that's pretty hardcore, seen it all, a lot of bad things in life that's been around it. My father gave me a for instance of what of something that, of his experience with something like that. And it was, I believed it, the experience that Brenda had. I would have liked to have been there. I would have liked to have felt the atmosphere in the room. But I'll tell you that story real quick if if you
Yeah,
want to
go
hear
ahead.
it. Well, what it was her grandmother was a Pentecostal preacher,
Right.
and uh, basically they were at the Pentecostal church. Now I'm not talking the Pentecostals that handle snakes and dance around and get bit by them.
Right.
I'm talking you're more than more normal than those anyway. I'm not big for organized religion, so I'm not propping up Pentecostals either. But they're a God-fearing Christian group of people that have church on Sundays, and that's what they were doing. And Brenda was in there, and her grandma was part of the people that ran the place. And there was a bunch of other people in there, and I guess her father was there, and her mother was there, and there was a woman that walked through the door while they were having service and went down the pew and fell out, or went down close to the pew in the front and fell out in front of the pew.
Wow.
And I guess started acting crazy and saying a bunch of crazy stuff. And you know what? Maybe I'll have Brenda come on and tell the story one day because she'll remember more about what she said and all the things. She directed things towards the congregation. And, but Brenda said that when she walked through the door, she was kind of like, just kind of looked zombified or something.
Right.
And when she went up to the pew before she fell out, and she looked at Brenda as she was walking through, and Brenda said what came to her mind was wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Now I don't, and it was kind of weird because I was like, well, that's a odd thing to think just because you're seeing somebody. I mean, you're judging them right there in church. Shame on you. I used to tease her about it. And then the woman falls out at the pew and starts acting all crazy, and they basically laid hands on this woman and, but the thing of it is, Brenda, to this day, and you can't convince her of anything else. And I've talked to her, and we went into deep psychology on this incident of, well, maybe she was on drugs or maybe she had mental illness. And she's like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you mean? Kind of like getting mad at me, because I'm questioning it or whatever. And I mean, what do you mean I don't get it? And she'll be like, you just had to be there. It was a feeling I had when it all went down. It was, you could sense the evil in the room.
Well, and you bring up a really good case too, because I think the one thing that I think differentiates us between like animals per se, I mean, they have their own way of doing it. We sort of know when impending doom is coming. We get that really weird sixth sense about, okay, I need to keep it moving. Something really,
Yeah, we need to keep stepping here. I'm on the south side of Chicago, and I'm being walked up on by several people here that could do me harm. Right. You got that sense about you when you're in danger.
No, absolutely. And I read a statistic that, there's 320 known exorcists that are, able to do what they're able to do because of the Vatican and et cetera, because of Rome. But I was recently in touch with that exorcist I'm trying to get on the show, and he was telling me that they've never been busier because they firmly believe that with social media, the way it's become, that they believe that demons are now using, for a lack of better term, social media to create havoc as well. Which,
wow, well, that's interesting. I thought it was all that, that potent weed they put out on the street.
Yeah, well, he firmly believes that a lot of this, the sicker side of social media is just being sort of poked by demons and Satan. Whether or not I believe that's kind of another thing. But this is one of those subjects where I believe in what I believe, and I'm not going to fuck with certain things. It just, I draw the line at messing with stuff like that.
To back up your friend's theory, and with him being a priest, I don't want to discredit what he's saying at all, because, I mean, maybe he has some insight that I don't, but to back up a little bit what he says, maybe not so much as like a demonic possession.
Right.
Okay, because that's a really strong, set of circumstances there. But demonic influence is a thing also. And I do believe that if you have something in your home that is of what's the word I'm looking for? It can be inhabited, or it can have something connected to it. You can actually bring something in that's been part of a ritual, or maybe part of a whatever the case may be. It's about the Warrens did a whole life's case study on this
Right.
stuff, and you can bring something into your home that can wreak havoc in your home that you don't even know is there. Well, you eventually, I think it does rear its ugly head, but it can cause you problems for years. Pets dying, accidents in the home, things go missing, just all kinds of stuff. And then one day something invokes it to feel a little bit stronger.
Well, yeah, I think, we've talked about it before on this show. Like, it's bad stuff will saturate the land. I mean, it really, if you want to go back to it, I mean, not to get into this, but with everything that white people did to the Native Americans, and they cursed the land, and you see this everywhere, especially when you start to get it. Oh God, what's that ranch?
Hey, Tony, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
The ranch that's haunted was all Indian reservations.
Right.
So
right.
it just seems to me like there's, excuse me, that there's, like you said, when bad juju happens somewhere, it just seeps into the land. And so for people that are non-believers and people that say, it's all hocus pocus, ghosts don't exist, all of this stuff they say, you can't really explain some of this stuff that's going on. You just can't. Hey, Tony, how you doing, buddy?
What's happening, Jeff?
Oh, same
Jeff,
day.
I wanted because you guys, I just heard you guys say something right now that somebody had said it. I couldn't, because I had tuned off for a couple of minutes. I was, but when I came back, I heard you were saying something that somebody was saying that he believes that. Is there an echo?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
You sound good.
I'm hearing a freaking echo here. What's going on? But anyway, yeah, this is driving me crazy, bro. But anyway, you said that somebody had said that he believes that there is some type of demonic influence in social media. Is that what you said?
Yeah, an exorcist that we're getting on this show. Yeah, said he believes that it's demonic influenced. Absolutely.
No, you want to know something, Jeff? I have to completely wholeheartedly concur with that gentleman because
you know that me and Tony talked about this before.
It's crazy the way things work.
Yeah. Yeah, I do believe that wholeheartedly. From what I'm seeing, I believe that there might be some even not just demonic influences there, but I think there are people who are involved in the occult who are also involved in these type of weird things that you see people push people to the verge of committing offing themselves and stuff like that, which I consider it to be a cardinal sin. You know what I mean? But I'm never going to say if somebody, I'm never going to say if somebody offs themselves they're not going to go to heaven. That's between judge. The ultimate judge is God. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna go there. But I do believe. I do believe absolutely from what I've seen, from the things that I've seen, not just from the community that we're in, but I've also checked into other communities also. And I think there are some demonic influence, some serious demonic influence here going on, bro. For sure. I mean, I don't think I know people would debate it. People don't believe in that, but
I absolutely believe that any place you can, you look, you can find it. It's just in what circumstance, it pops up in. Some of these people have mental problems, but I also, but the thing about it is that people don't realize is someone that's got a few, maybe depression, mental problems, they're the most easily influenced. Those and the ones that take heavy drugs. Like if you're taking any kind of psychedelics, if you're taking any kind of, stay up late pills, that type of shit, Oxycontins, whatever it is, that type of stuff right there. When you get whacked out of your skull, that's when I do believe druggery, the Bible says, is the time the demons can move in.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe that in the New Testament, where we get the word actually pharmacy, believe it or not, comes from a secular coronary weak. A secular coronary weak. Oh my God! A secular Koine Greek word. I believe that the word is pharmakia, which has to do with spiritual matters and putting yourself in an altered state of consciousness. Uh, I don't know if you people have ever heard about what was that? Something of Delphi, the seers of Delphi. You know, the one that
Yes, I have.
yeah, you know, these were women, I believe, that they used to put themselves in an altered state of consciousness,
Right, right.
and it does, I'm just talking something real quick here, biblically speaking. You do open up your mind by putting yourself in a super duper,
Altered state of
state of
consciousness.
consciousness.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
what I mean, that's why I know some people like to do their little yoga, their meditation. I'm not the type of guy that would like to clear my mind of everything. I think that's not such a good idea. That's just my, trying to put yourself in a state of mind in which you clear your thoughts of everything. I don't know about that. I think it's, like I said, since I look at things when I look at spiritual matters, I do look at spiritual matters through a biblical perspective, a biblical prism. Uh, and since the Bible does say to be alert in regards to these type of things, I don't think it's a good idea to mingle with spiritual matters while in a altered state of consciousness. You follow me?
Well, if you think about it, you think about all these people that sit around, they get high, they get on these chat rooms, they get all over the internet. And I'm not just talking mob people, I'm talking all over the place.
Yeah.
I've seen some very evil people. When people die, where most people would come together and say, oh my God, somebody died. If you don't like them, most people 20 years ago would have showed respect and just kept their opinions to themselves. Today, people are like, good, I'm glad, it's just crazy. And I think that stuff comes from a bad place sometimes, I mean, if somebody really deserves it, like a clan leader dies or something, of course. Yeah. But if it's somebody that's just like, questionable or whatever, why would you want to interject yourself and wishing somebody bad, People nowadays, they are influenced by evil at the very least, and I believe that.
Yeah. I also believe that like remember Chinatown, we do have a similar belief structure in regards to the Bible and stuff.
Right.
The Bible does say that we're fallen creatures, and we do tend to lean toward the bad. That's why we work on toward going to, because our willer is toward the bad. That's the way we are. That's our Adamic sin nature in us. You know what I mean? And we're constantly fighting against that. But some of us fight against that more than others. I have a hard time fighting against my sin nature.
Have you got any comment about the stuff that Jeff played tonight? What do you think about that Annalise story?
Bro, I'm sorry, but I was doing something right now, and I kind of like missed it. Can you gotta give me like a quick synopsis of what happened, Jeff?
You gotta go back and watch that.
Oh, for real? Okay,
yeah. We'll get your opinion on the next exorcism show.
Oh, okay.
That one. Yeah, it's definitely interesting, bro.
It was an actual real instance of an exorcism and stuff, of the demonic possession.
Footage of stuff.
Oh wow, man, that's great, guys. Hey, guys, great show, man. I just wanted to drop in and say that, bro. Have a great show, guys.
Right
Love
on, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Bye bye.
So I'm curious as to what the chat believes. I mean, do we believe that that's the case? And I have another video I want to play, something we kind of touched on last week. But while we play this video, I want the chat to kind of give us, if you think this stuff is real, hit 1. If you think it's BS, hit 2. And I'm going to play this other video because we talked about it last week, and I have something I want to share on this. If I can just pull it up. Nope, that's Bigfoot stuff. We don't need to be talking about that. All right.
What's claimed to have happened here at the local hospital is disturbing and backed up by medical staff who say they witnessed it in this report. The 7-year-old son started making growling sounds while his eyes rolled back into his head. His older brother then walked up a wall backwards, flipping over his grandmother.
The nurses were standing in the door and they bagged up saying, "Oh my God, oh my God."
Whose room was this? The children's grandmother, Rosa Campbell, gave police a tour through the house, which officers recorded.
She saw it forming.
She describes a series of violent occurrences.
And pick him up and throw him into this deep freezer, head first. Like, nobody's gonna believe this, Toya. I knew it. They're gonna think everybody's crazy.
And that's the lingering question. Do demons exist? And do they inhabit the souls of people around us?
What do you say to people who don't think demons are real?
There is no other explanation for certain things.
The role of the church is not to impose, but to propose. So one of the reasons I like to speak out on the topic of exorcism is just to help educate people with what the church actually believes and teaches.
All right, so if everybody remembers last week.
So if you think we're kooky, you got to say those guys are kooky too for even talking about this stuff, right?
Oh yeah, we all got to be kooky. I just wanted to. I kind of pulled this up last week, but I'm going to go through just a little bit really quick. Let me just pull this up. Oh, let's see. Okay. All right. Can we see that? You probably can't see it too well, but I'm going to go ahead and read through it. Me actually. All right. This is literally the intake officer's report. And this was from that case in Indiana on the 24th day of April, 2012. Have the children been removed? Yes. Removal date and time. But let's go down and really look at, first of all, this is what I want to focus on. Probable cause. Okay. 4/19/19 at 8:20, Indiana Department of Child Services reported stating the following information from the report. RS states children were at their primary care physician's office and he sent them to the ER. RS states the mother has reported there are demons in the home and they are attacking the children. RS states that the mother reported the children fight one another and are abusive to one another, then they pass out. RS states, redacted, report there are ghosts in the home, thousands of them. He can see them. RS states reported that they don't talk to him, but after the mother tells redacted, obviously this is the child's name, that he can tell the medical professionals the truth. He later says yes. RS states reported that one demon told him he was going to hell and he wasn't going to God. RS states they believe a month ago everything was relatively normal. They state that the family recently moved, but they're unaware of where they moved from. RS states within the last month, it started with one child acting out fighting. Then it was with all the children being very violent with one another in public, but especially with the mother present. They state they believe the mother may have mental health concerns. RS states that they believe children are performing for the mother and that she's encouraging the behavior. And it goes on into facts and evidence. And says medical staff stated that Mrs. Ammons reported various stories regarding demons and spirits. They reported that Miss Ammons reported that her home has various demons and spirits due to somebody dying in the house. Medical staff reported they observed the children and heard the 7-year-old making growling noises and his eyes rolled into the back of his head. Medical staff would report while the children were at the primary doctor's office. The medical staff reported that they observed the child to be lifted and thrown into a wall with nobody touching him. Gary Police Department went to the home, and the home has multiple religious shrines, Bibles throughout the home, plenty of food, home was clean. Medical staff reported that the ghost attacks him and his brother. The mother stated that she has taken the children to various temples and churches to remove the demons. Medical staff reported that the child had a physical outburst, hitting and kicking the brother and grandmother. Mother placed the child in a gentle therapeutic hold, and the child became limp and was placed on the bed, but was difficult to arouse. Child stated he did not recall what happened. Social worker basically got called into the room to evaluate, and Miss Ammons and the child's eyes rolled in the back of his head and his teeth were exposed and he began to growl. He stated that ghosts were attacking him and his brother. Child became aggressive and walked up the wall as if he was walking on the floor and did a flip over the grandmother. The episode was witnessed by the psych counselor and DCS worker. And it just kind of goes on and on. This is the important part. Psychological evaluation was completed with this Ammons, and it was found that she was of sound mind. So these aren't people inventing a story. And I don't think that the Department of Children's Services are going to back up oddball claims of ghosts, and they're not going to make up.
And the cops were involved, the whole 9 yards. There's police testimony. How you doing, Mean Green? Everybody else that came in, hello. We talked about this last week, and there's police testimony that goes along with this evaluation from the psychologists. So it's kind of one of those interesting cases where it's hard to just dismiss the testimony of professionals. I mean, these are people who do the kid thing for a living, where they watch over our children. If there's abusive parents out there, you don't want them in the hands of them. That's bottom line.
No, absolutely not. And they're not going to put their careers on the line and lose their job for just inventing something that doesn't happen. And when they say walking up the wall, we're not talking like jumping. This kid walked up the fucking wall backwards.
Right. Well, were those legitimate pictures of it, or what was that there? They were flashing it in the video
that was like a recreation, but I heard that a judge was played the video. They had surveillance of the whole entire thing, which is why the judge didn't take the children away from the mother, because he looked at this and said, holy shit. And they're never, obviously, right? Because they're children, they're never going to show that video. But that, to me, that for every argument stance that somebody wants to take with me that none of this exists, how do you can't physically explain that to me?
Well, I just tell them this. There's been how many cases of exorcism that have been reported over the years, and right. I'm gonna give the doubter 99.999999999.9% are full of baloney. It's a mental case or something like that. But that other point of a percent,
right.
If it's true, means it exists, it happened, it's what it is. And that's something that should make you think deeply about being right with people in your life and God. That's my opinion on it.
So there's one tiny little case I'm going to read really quick. It's a little different than kind of what we're talking about. I mean, it's under the same guise, but it's warning again. There's no real video with this. It's more of, I'm looking for okay, here it is. All right. I'm just going to go through this really quick. By the way, on the right-hand side, that is a picture of him now. It's the Michael Taylor case from 1974, and he was from West Yorkshire, England. And it's probably the worst example of an exorcism that went wrong. Taylor, who was a butcher by trade, had some ongoing issues with depression. Along with his wife, Christine, they joined a Christian fellowship group, which his wife was a member of. After a couple of months, there began whispers that Michael was having an affair with a layperson from the church, a lady by the name of Marie Robinson. One night, Christine confronted her husband in the church in front of the whole entire group. He admitted that he had some feelings for this woman, but there was nothing more to it. The congregation asked Michael and Marie to leave the room to go discuss the issue privately. They left the area. They entered a room within the church that actually had 2 beds, where Michael allegedly, his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he starts to make sort of advances at Marie. She leaves the room yelling and screaming, tells his wife and the congregation that Michael had made a pass at her. Christine immediately attacked Marie verbally, and a screaming match would sort of take place. Eventually they left, and then the following week, they forgave Michael and Christine for everything that happened. However, Michael was acting very, very odd and erratic and speaking languages they couldn't understand. They then approached him and offered to do an exorcism, which he laughed at. Eventually, after a ton of begging, he agrees. The church brought in, and don't laugh, guys, a priest by the name of Peter Vincent. If you're a fan of horror movies, you'll understand the Peter Vincent reference from Fright Night. But this is a real case. Peter Vincent was the head exorcist between October 5th and 6th at St. Thomas Church in Gloucester, along with Reverend Raymond Smith, performed an exorcism. Over 12 hours, they attempted to remove demons from Michael. They invoked and recognized at least 40 demons before excising them out of him. The following evening, the police received a blood-curdling phone call of screams coming from the home of Michael and Christine. When the police arrived, they found Christine face down in a pool of blood. When they turned her over, and if you're squeamish, I apologize. When they turned her over, they were shocked. Her eyes were ripped out of her head. Her tongue was found on the floor, and her face was peeled off her skull. As police searched the rest of the house, they found the family dog dismembered and parts thrown around the house. Police began to search the town, and they found Michael walking down a street soaked in blood from head to toe. He would be arrested and charged with murder. He had no recollection of the events whatsoever. However, and this is the crazy part, he would be acquitted at trial on the grounds of mental insanity and would be sent to Broadmoor. If Broadmoor strikes a nerve with any of you, that's where Jimmy Savile, the career pedo, hurt all those children. And so once again, this is another story of sort of the opposite. Somebody that's infected with demons, albeit according to the story, gets an exorcism and goes absolutely ballistic. And there's a lot of stories that are very similar to that of Michael Taylor, where they're normal people. They move into a house. The house has got some sort of infestation, and these people who normally haven't broken the law under any circumstances murder people. And it's just, it's insane to me. It just really is.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cases of that through history. If you really want to dig, and I'm not talking Amityville, I'm talking other places where people have moved in and literally killed their whole families. You know, it's happened multiple times throughout history.
Well, yeah, and if you look at the Amityville case, and we might talk about that one night, because that's a really interesting case. Like, you know, the guy's telling people the dog told him to do stuff, you know, and then there's all this other stuff, and there's a lot of
correlation with Son of Sam there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then
and a lot of people don't, you know, put a lot of these things together. But the dog stories and animals telling them to do things, it's happening in several different instances.
And Mean Green is right. Can you imagine the strength to do that to a human without devices? Yeah, he did not use any knife. He used his bare hands. That's just insane to me. It's just insane to me. And I just as a side note to all of this, you know, when I talked with the priest on the phone, I had a 5-hour conversation with this guy over 2.5 days. And he has always, he asked me coyly on the phone. He's like, have you ever messed with a Ouija board in your life? I said, yes. He goes, did anything ever happen that just scared you to the point where you never messed with it again? And I said, yes. And he goes, well, tell me the story. And very briefly, me and a bunch of kids were goofing around with it. And we kept asking the board, who are you? Who are you? 666 Legion, all of that stuff, which we're kids. Nobody from my, like, we're 10-year-old kids. None of the 10-year-old kids know what the hell Legion is. Okay. They just, God, Satan. That's how we saw the world. And we kept asking the board, oh, when are we going to die? When are we going to die? And it wouldn't answer. And then what it ended up saying was, well, we sort of invoked, well, if you're real and we're really talking to a demon or a spirit, what's your sign? And of course you get the 666 is, we'll prove it, do something. And it spelled out on the board, I can't, God's protecting you. And that's the last time I ever fucked with something like that. It just, no. No. And there was something else that sort of
you know, that ain't one of your punky buddies spelling that out.
Oh, no.
He's not pushing the board around those letters.
No, but here's what was weird about it, right?
That is pretty interesting.
What's fun, you'll get a kick out of this. What was funny is I got so scared, I threw the Ouija board in a lake. And you know what my friends did was they went out and bought a new Ouija board, and they put sand and water on it, and they hid it in my backyard. So imagine, if you will, I'm going out to the backyard and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I freaked the fuck out, right? But what's really strange is I had gone over to the lake the following night, and a storm was coming through, and it got all windy and stuff like that. And you know how you get that kind of twinge in the back of your spine, like I'm not alone kind of a deal? Right. I took off, and when I was leaving from this park, I had to go through a schoolyard, and in the schoolyard was a huge 666 and like a purple dust. It was the weirdest thing I had ever seen in my life. And ever since then, I just, if you want to fuck with those kind of things, go right ahead. Not for me.
Yeah. I've had some experiences with a Ouija board, and I have never actually laid hands and pushed one around or done anything like that. But I've been in the room with it going down, and Mean Green's out there talking about snipe hunting.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Listen, and they had a huge kick up. They went out and spent like $25 to get the Parker Brothers Ouija board, dirtied it up, damaged it. Imagine Imagine me walking out, already freaked out from the last time, and there stuck in the wood pile is a Ouija board sticking out. I'm like, I screamed like a child, like a little girl. I was so scared, horribly scared. And after that, I had no desire for that sort of thing. I just didn't. And so when I get that really weird sense when I'm somewhere, be it in the past when I went ghost hunting, if I get that weird thing and I start moving and going, there's your reason why. Because
I have absolutely been there, bro. I have absolutely been there. I felt that weirdness a time or two.
Let's see.
That weirdness a time
I think if you believe in evil, it follows you. You must believe in good. I don't believe in God, but a creator. Your channel is seriously introducing, and yes, that was the case. I thought of in England. Yes, well, it's kind of like these. So you can't have evil without good. You can't. That's why I get confused with people that I will see this occasionally on some very Christian run channels that people will say, "Oh, I don't believe in the devil." Well, how can you not? You know, I don't. I don't know how people.
Your book says he exists. Your book says there's been exorcisms. Your book says that the devil came to Jesus Christ in his worst time.
Right.
When he was in the desert, and he appeared to him, and he offered him all the world's riches. So how? Either you're a Christian or you're not. And if you don't believe in the devil, well, it's kind of hard to believe in the whole thing, man. It's a wash then. You know.
Well, yeah, I looked at a list the other day. There's like, I'm going to get this number wrong. There's like over 700 different demons. Like, it's insane the amount of demons there are.
You do know that they may be named or whatever, but it was said that 1/3 of the angels from heaven left.
Ooh, and I'm glad you brought that up because
that's a whole lot more than 700.
I wanted to bring this up because I recently came across a channel that was talking about angels, and they got the blonde hair. Angels are terrifying looking, according to the Bible, because when you read the Bible, it states angels always say the same thing when they're introducing themselves to us here on earth by saying, "Do not be afraid," because apparently they are absolutely hideous. And I
always thought the Bible described Satan as quite beautiful.
One
of God's most beautiful creations, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he was.
It contradicts itself all the time. You know what I mean? There's those type of weird contradictions.
Yeah, and I don't need to be proven either way. I'll just take your word for it.
I take my word for it. You don't want to mess with it.
No.
Well, there it is, man.
No, not at all. So a couple of things just really quick. By the way, those of you who follow Mob Talk Radio, I am doing my last ever live on November 24th at, I think, 8. It will be the last Mob Talk anything I ever do on YouTube. It's over with as of then. I'll still do the podcast until July of 2026. And I have another video I want to play just really, really quickly. If I can just get rid of this goddamn thing. All right. This is going to be coming on this channel. As you guys know, I do a little small mini documentaries and stuff like that. And I want to show you what we have coming up next week. The heart of the Congo Basin, where the rivers twist like ancient veins through a land untouched by time, locals whisper of a creature that should have died out 1 million years ago. A beast with the body of a dinosaur, the neck of a serpent, and the roar that shakes the trees. They call it Mokele Bembe, the one who stops the flow of rivers. For generations, tribes have told stories of sightings, footprints in the mud, the crash of something colossal beneath the water's surface, and the travelers who never returned. Could this be a living relic from the age of the dinosaurs? Or just another legend swallowed by the jungle? Tonight, we head into the Congo to uncover the mystery, the sightings, and the chilling truth behind Mokele Bembe. There we go. So we have that pack coming
stuff.
up next week. Yeah.
I know the story about that, actually. And you know what? I know some people that were on expedition over there catching snakes.
That is very cool.
Yeah, we'll have to talk sometime. But yeah, looks like that one's going to be interesting. Now, what's that going to come out as? What do you?
It'll be like a 25-minute short documentary kind of thing.
All right,
all
right.
Also
a little bit of extra content for the channel.
Yeah. Also, anybody in the chat, the best thing you can do for us, share our show, and if you have topics, reach out to us. Let us know, and we'll cover everything. We don't always want to do the same ghost stuff, but right. I think,
and if you want to come up on the show and give us your experiences, I think we should get together, but we should have it predetermined who's going to come on. Maybe get some people that would like to, come up and share their experiences with us.
Well, you know what we can do? Why don't we next week do ghost stories and just let people tell us their fucking horror stories?
Or, if we ain't got enough of them, we can add a few of our own because there's millions of them out there.
Yeah, I think that's.
I know a few myself.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Well, I think that's going to be it for us tonight. I think Angel Gotti is coming on here shortly.
Go over there, support, show her some love, and see you guys next week.
Definitely so.